Hey guys, and welcome to the first episode of Broom Closet Talks. We are your hosts, Chastity,
Lisa, Brenda,
and John.
Yay! So excited about this, guys. It's been a couple of months in the works. Finally, we're together, we're here, and we're excited to share today and talk about the topic. So let's talk about the humble beginnings, okay? So why don't you guys introduce yourselves? So who's up first?
I believe it was John.
Okay, to start off with how the beginning started, it was back in 2009. I was practically ran over by a truck and I was put in ICU for multiple months. After I came out of that, I ended up losing my house, my job, my life, and I was brought back into my parents' home. Well, as that started, a few months later, I just could not figure out how to manipulate and adjust with the pain level that I was living with. So with that said, I ended up taking off and going to Asheville to see if I couldn't find a holistic retreat. Well, during the time I was there for about 2 weeks, we went from one holistic retreat to the next. Well, what's funny, every holistic retreat that we went to was something that reminded me of a lady from Santa Barbara that claims that they are a spiritualist, but it's a straight up bullshit. And I was not feeling any part of it. So we ended up going from place to place and nothing ever resonated. The day before we left, it was 2 weeks after going from place to place, we was leaving, and I come across a small plaque that was maybe a foot by maybe 6 inches tall. That was talking about, have you ever had your soul read? And what are you on the right track? And that was the only thing that resonated with me at that point within the time that I was there. So I ended up going upstairs and speaking to the lady that was there. Her name was Kelly Jones, and she became my mentor over time. So what was funny, she could not see me that day, but the day that I was planning on leaving, the next afternoon, she did a reading for me. And the reading specifically told me what I needed to do to fix my life, to live in harmony with the pain. So she told me different techniques that I could do to fix my pain at that time. As a month went by, she ended up calling me back and she told me to come back in because she wanted to become my mentor. After I ended up going back up there for the summer of 2009, she sent me back into the mentorship of that. Well, during that process, I was there understanding how to read for people and read for others. But the thing is, with the Akashic, it dials directly into the soul contracts that we have, and or alleviating certain contracts that we have maybe had that we did not mean to create to release. So that's what I've learned as time's gone by, as fixing my own self through health benefits. And if something goes wrong in my life, right? If I see something that's wrong, the first thing I do, I stop. I open the Akashic records and I get the information that's needed. And when that information comes through, I take it, I either receive it and or I write it down, and then I fix what I've been going through. During that process, what we will do is then I will interpret that in my own way and fix my life. And that's what's happened thus far since 2009. So I've lived with chronic pain in 2009 to where I could not comprehend I could not understand, and I could not live with pain, to the point to where today, with all the nerve damage that I've had from over the 18 major surgeries, to where I can literally do yoga in rocks in my driveway and be content. And that's the difference between understanding, comprehending, and then living it out, from what I understood from the very beginning.
So basically, the Akashics was just, it wasn't even that it was introduced, it was called to you, you know, because you said you tried other modalities, you tried other pathways, and basically it was the Akashics that felt right, you know?
Right.
So you've been doing it since 2009, so you've been doing it over 10 years. So
yeah, a hot second.
Yeah, so for everybody that's watching, that's pretty much how long he's been doing it, and he's great at it. Okay, like, I mean, I would be honest, John, like when you and I first met, I had an Akashics reading done, but I don't feel this person was really experienced. So I was kind of on the fence, you know. I was like, I don't know, this kind of feels like some new age BS, you know, like I wasn't sold with the Akashics, I guess because of my experience. And then when you read me, it was a whole other ball of wax. I was like, okay, all right. I'm a believer, because I'm telling you, like at first I was just like, I don't know about this Akashics thing. And a lot of people kind of threw it out there in the past, that I had a few people that I had came across. And it's actually, you know, it's a thorough training, you know, and I know when you and I spoke about it, you had to go through a serious training with it.
Right.
And some people have this misconception that the Akashics is, you know, just something that you can tap into whenever, and it's a process, you know, and you also have to be, you know, mentally, emotionally, physically in tune, you know, so that's important. That's an important process.
Not only that, started, and once you evolve yourself into it, it becomes pretty intense spiritually.
Yeah.
So you also be very, very prepared for what's coming through.
Yeah. Is anyone really hot right now? Like my face is on fire.
My whole damn face is on fire.
Right,
look at my face.
My face is at 1,000 degrees right now, y'all. Like I'm like,
yep.
like,
my
oh
AC
my
is
goodness.
blasting.
Like you were talking, John, and like all of a sudden my body temperature just went.
You know why? Because I opened before we started.
Right. And I'm telling you, you were talking. Look, I'm all like, I'm blushing. I'm all beet red right now.
Well, thank you, John.
Yes, thank you, John. And we're excited to have you on board. So, yeah, I guess I'll give a brief introduction. Of course, for those that don't know me and that are new to the channel, I am a tarot reader. I've been reading for over 20 years. I been teaching, instructing for about 3 years now. I am also a free will astrologer. Free will astrology is more of an unconventional approach. It applies the traditional, but also a more holistic and also a more intuitive approach to astrology. So I've been doing that for a while. So astrology is kind of my baby also as well. I also instruct that. So yeah, that's what I bring to the table here. Also just intuitive insight, and yeah, so that's my bag. Who, Lisa, my darling?
Hello. So okay. My main gift is being an empath. I do occasionally get sight, sound. I can hear occasionally. I've always been in touch with my gifts, starting, I can remember as early as like elementary school, being around other friends who were gifted, you know, transferring energy back and forth with them. And then, you know, in my preteens, going next to a river, being able to feel the gravitational energy. off of the river, and telling my parents, don't you guys feel that? And they're like, no, what are you talking about? So but and then life happens, and I didn't really get back in touch with my gifts until after I got divorced. And my husband's best friend was an Odinist and introduced me to the Norse gods. But previous to that, 15 years previous to that, I was involved with the SGI, studying and practicing Japanese Buddhism. So spirituality and all that kind of thing has always been an interest. But lately, so since I've joined Indigo Ray Healing in 2017, I started practicing with Tiffany Patterson, one of our other founding members. And I just really took off from there. And I've learned so much from Chaz about the tarot. I was never really into tarot, but I'm picking that up. And I work with runes, I work with crystals, I work with Norse gods currently, and I can clear energy, I can do healings, things like that. So it's me.
Yeah. And to talk about how like I got started, it's sort of similar to your story, John. I think that's what made us kind of click instantly, because I too dealt with a freak accident that led me to have seizures. So for a long time, I was dealing with constant migraines and seizures. And what was introduced to me was tarot, actually. And I was 17, and one of my schoolmates brought a deck to school, and she was like a hippie chick. I remember her mom studied at the Kabbalah Center, and like she used to just come looking like a hippie all the time. And she was like really like, hey guys, how's it going? Like just typical, hey Chaz, how you doing, man? Like we're gonna go after school, and we're gonna maybe smoke a little bit. Like she was typical like hippie, but she was really cool. And one day we didn't want to go to gym that day. It was so funny. Like we were like, do you want to go to gym? She's like, nah, I don't want to go to gym. And like none of it was like a group of 4. And we cut class that day, and the 10th floor gym, my school had 10 floors, okay, because I went to school in New York City in Manhattan. So on the 10th floor was the 10th floor gym, and it was only used twice a day. So like for the remainder of the day, that entire floor would be empty. And a lot of people used to go up there and smoke, just chill out and whatever. So we went up to the 10th floor and we cut class, and she was like, hey guys, look what I brought. I brought my mom's tarot deck. So she brought it. We were like, man, that's super cool. And she just started pulling cards and like reading us. And we were like, and I was just like drawn instantly. And it was just like, this is so cool, right? And then a couple of weeks after that, went to Barnes and Noble with my mom. I was looking at some books. I always used to hit the New Age section. But if you notice now, guys, do you notice now it's not called the New Age section anymore? Like when you go to Barnes and Nobles, they changed it. They don't call it the New Age section anymore. Now they call it what? Occult? The occult section, or
yes.
You notice that, right? They don't call it they don't call it the New Age section. Back in the day, it was the New Age section, right? So that would always be my place to go. And I always wanted to pick up books on Wicca and astrology. I was always fascinated with that. So I noticed that they sold tarot decks, which I never knew. I never knew that. And I noticed in the case, they had a bunch of tarot decks, right? And I go to my mom and I asked my mom, I said, hey, Ma, can you get me a tarot deck? And my mom just looks at me weird. And she's like, why do you want a tarot deck? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, your grandmother used to read, like my father's mother. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, she used to read. Mind you guys, I never knew about this at all. I had no clue that my grandmother used to read. She died when I was very young. She died when I was like 5 years old. So I never really knew much about her. But when my mother told me that, it was kind of like things coming full circle. Like it makes sense why I was drawn to it. So I think we lost John. Okay.
No,
okay.
I started having a coughing attack.
Oh,
soon as
okay.
you started talking about your grandmother.
Oh,
Okay, you
Sorry.
don't have to get off. You could just pause. Like you could like mute yourself. You know, you can mute and then you could kind of cough. So
I've been like choking over here as soon as you talked about your grandmother.
yeah, she comes in all the time for like, as a matter of fact, Brenda, you and I spoke earlier today and my
Yeah.
grandmother came in. So she's like a very strong guide. Like
I did an unintentional reading on chest. Your grandmother's here giving me thumbs up to everything I'm saying.
I mean, I wasn't even surprised because I told you, I was like, she comes in like every time, right? Like every time I get a reading, 9 times out of 10, my grandmother's gonna come through. Like it's almost every time. So, and that honestly means a lot to me because, you know, I didn't know, like I said, much about her. And I feel like this is kind of a way that we connect with each other, like in spirit, you know? So yeah. Oh boy, John is coughing up a lung over there. Poor thing. Oh my goodness. Like, I'm gonna hold on to the crystal so he could feel better. Oh my gosh, I'm about to light some of this Palo Santo up in here.
Like he's literally picking something.
Oh wow. The poor thing. Oh my goodness. Drink some
Hey,
water,
Ciesla.
John.
I have water.
Yes, drink some water, honey. Goodness gracious. Yeah, drink that water.
I picked up something from
I got my
your
water.
last.
Sorry,
I feel like you picked up something from your last reading.
I haven't had a reading today.
I feel like you've picked up something from your last reading. And even if it wasn't today, you picked up something from your last reading. And it's followed you. You need to clean yourself.
Okay.
helping. I'm trying to help.
I don't know why. Lisa, you and I were thinking the same. Like we literally grabbed a crystal. I grabbed this black tourmaline and it was like, yeah. So we were.
We didn't even like get done with the introductions and we're already, you know.
Yeah, like we're already started. Like, guys, this is how it is. Like literally, when we get together, it's just like we're in a zone. So, Brenda, you're already channeling. You're already picking things up. So
I'm already clearing.
John's already trying to purge stuff out. Lisa's like, all right, getting into protective mode. Right?
Yeah, it's a nonstop thing. That's
Right.
the only, just being a medium.
Exactly.
It's constant.
So with that being said, Brenda, would you like to share with the audience your humble beginnings?
Of course. So Brooklyn born, Brooklyn, New York.
Yes. Brooklyn in the house.
Toughest neighborhood in the city, Bushwick. But my upbringing was humble. Catholic background. Being a Catholic, it's a 50-50 when it comes to spirituality.
Yeah.
You're either all into God or you're doing Santeria, which is a religion, which a lot of people consider it to be a cult in a negative way and not positive.
Right.
Santeria is religion because I've read up on it. I am not a santera. I want to let everybody know right now, I am not a santera. I don't practice it. But I have read into it because I respect all religions. As a child, I was very intuitive. I would say things and my mom would tell me, hush, shut up. You know, and that kept me quiet for many years to know why I could see certain things, why I knew certain things. It was like I was a older person in a kid's body.
Yeah.
And a lot of people experience that who don't know that it's the beginnings of your psychic abilities. My mom has a nickname for me. She always calls me brujita. Brujita in Spanish, in English means witch, little witch. Because every time I would tell her something, it would happen. Or she would look at me like, how did you know that was going to happen? And it just fell into place. As I got older, I still did not understand myself. I still would experience certain unnatural stuff that I would be like, oh my God, am I really seeing what I'm seeing? To the point that I always felt that I needed glasses, or maybe I was becoming psychologically, challenged. I mean, it was just so many different aspects to it until I finally came to terms with myself because of an experience that I had. It happened in 2002. I was inside of a church. We were having regular mass at the church, but I was sick that day. I had extremely high fevers that day. As at the end of the Catholic service, or towards the ending, everyone always walks away shaking each other's hands and saying, peace be with you. It turned out that I was saying peace be with you to a man who I saw next to me, while everybody behind me did not see the man. So they were looking at me like I was crazy. But I saw this man next to me said, peace be with you. And he said, you'll be fine. And next thing you know, when I turn around again, the man is gone. So that led to my understanding that there is something that I'm holding inside that I need to let out. I've never been ready to tell the world what I can do until now, only because I met you guys, because you guys opened up to me that the possibilities of my mediumship and my psychic abilities were true and not something that I thought was fictional. Because again, raised in a Catholic environment, it's taboo to be even a medium.
Yeah.
It's taboo.
Oh yeah.
To even try to work it. You can't, you're a Catholic. You can't do none of that stuff.
No, it's frowned upon. It's absolutely frowned upon.
It's very frowned upon. You're considered a witch.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my biggest concern. That was always my fear. Am I going to be shunned? Am I going to be set aside? Are people going to laugh at me? I am very happy to see how open the new generation is to this.
Yeah.
How the older generations are starting to open up to it more. So it's no longer frowned upon. It's being embraced. And so now I'm able to actually go out there and speak about it, to go out there and help others. I am a medium. I'm a psychic. I do tarot. I've been doing tarot for a year now.
Mm-hmm.
And the most that I can say to anyone out there in my position is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Follow it. Go through with it. Listen to yourself. Listen to your guides, because we all have guides and we don't listen to them. We don't take the time to really pay attention to what they have to say to us. Sometimes it's just for us to walk the path, and sometimes it's to protect us. But most of it is that we're not alone and we need to listen. So we're here today as a group, as 4 crazy friends, as four very intuitive, powerful people with the knowledge, ability, and the presence to help anyone else out there that's starting out, to help anyone else out there that needs confirmation, that needs advice, that needs spiritual guidance. We're here for that.
That's exactly right.
That's my beginning.
Yeah. And I'm glad you touched on that, Brenda, because I feel the first step is always overcoming the fear, because there's always the ego getting in the way and the fear attached to pursuing this path, because let's be honest, it's the unbeaten path. Not many people go down this road. They don't, you know, and it's always refreshing when you do come across people like I came across you guys that are on this path and have had similar experiences. Brenda, you and I have talked for hours. I've talked with all of you guys extensively, you know, and I when I was little, I had these experiences too, but I was always, when I would talk about it, I would freak people out. So I kind of was, you know, I learned to just keep it to myself, because I would be either, you know, I would be quieted, you know, like, shh, be quiet, don't talk about that, or, you know, don't say that, you're scaring, you know, you're scaring your aunt, or you're scaring your cousin, or you're scaring, you know, like, so that was always the dynamic. So I kept it to myself. And for the longest time, I thought something was wrong with me. Like when I was a kid, I really thought something was wrong with me. Like you say, you saw the man at church. I used to see a lady that lived in my house, in my bedroom. And she used to talk to me. I mean, it was so many years ago. I don't remember everything she said, but I used to see her full apparition in my room. She used to talk to me. Sometimes when I would play with my toys, with my dolls, she would play with me. And I would tell my mom, and my mom thought it was my imaginary friend, right? Because I knew her name and everything, right? Her name was Jessica. So I used to go, Mommy, Jessica was in my room and we were playing. And my mom's like, oh, you know, brushing it off like it's an imaginary friend, whatever. And I used to go, no, Mommy, she's a real person. And Mommy, you know, my mom would be like, okay, you know, like nodding, okay, whatever, you know, but she was. And I remember it wasn't until an experience I had with my father that it was a confirmation. And my father, one day, he used to have a friend that lived across the street. His name was Snooky, you know, like Jersey Shore Snooky. That's his name. Yeah, and my dad used to go across the street, hang out with him and drink sometimes and play cards and whatever. So they were hanging out. And I asked to go across the street because he had a son. His son's name was Vaughn, and I used to play with him. So I was like, could I go with you, Daddy? He was like, yeah, come. You guys could go upstairs and play. So I was playing with Vaughn. I'm running around the house, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years old, but I remember this. And you know how there's upstairs on the, you know, the stairs going up, there's a wall there and there's a bunch of pictures, right? So I'm just running up the stairs, and then at the top of the staircase, there's a picture. And when I look, it was Jessica in the picture, sitting on his lap in the picture, right? The same way I saw her. I remember she was very, you know, tall, thin, blonde, you know, and she had like this green nightgown or this green sundress, but it was green. That I remember. Every time I would see her, she was in that green nightgown or whatever, or sundress. But I remember because when she would walk toward me, it was always like flowing. So I remember just staring at it like, just in like awe, because I see her. That's the woman in my house. So my dad started calling me. He's like, Chas, come on, we're going. And I just stood there and I didn't move. And he was like, Chas, what's going on? And I just was like, Daddy, that's Jessica. That's the lady in my room. And here's the funny part. Snooky was a black man. He was a dark black man. All right. He kind of reminded me of Samuel Jackson. He looked very similar build, you know. And he was like, what did you just say? He was like, he turned pale. And he was like, what did you just say? I said, that's Jessica. That's the lady I see in my room. That's my friend, right? So he was just like, okay. So he sits down in the living room and he's like, come downstairs and sit on Snooky's lap. That's what he tells me, right? So I'm like, okay. So I thought I did something wrong. So I'm sitting on his lap and he's like, okay, so you see Jessie, the lady in the picture? Where do you see her? And I'm like, I see her in my room. And he was like, you do? And I was like, yeah. What did she say to you? I said, no, she's just nice, but she's sad all the time. And he was like, okay. So he looked at my dad, and then it was a small street that I lived on, because I lived in Philadelphia at the time, and Philadelphia streets are very small and narrow. So my dad said, Chas, go across the street, go home. And the door was open and I just went in, and he stood on the porch talking with him for a minute, right? And I thought I did something wrong, or I thought I freaked him out, and I felt bad. And so my dad comes into the living room, and my mom was cooking in the kitchen, and he sits down on the couch and he tells me, listen, what happened today, I want you to keep it between us. I don't want you to scare your mother. But he told me, he was like, well, it turned out, because my father told me years later that Jessie was his girlfriend. She lived across the street in my house, and she collapsed in my room because he asked my dad, which room is Chas's room? He was like, it's the middle room. So he was like, okay, so she collapsed in my room of an asthma attack. She was DOA to the hospital. So she literally died in my room. Okay, when they found her, she was gone already from the asthma attack. And so, yeah, that's why I kept seeing her. And that explained everything. And then Dad told me years later, I was already like, I don't know, a teenager at that point when he told me. And then I think it was one of those moments where that kind of came full circle. Like, I'm not crazy. Like, this is real. Like, for years, I was convinced Jessica was an imaginary friend because that's how my mom wrote it off, you know, but it turns out it wasn't. And I
have a question.
Yeah.
Does she have blue eyes?
Yes.
She stood right here beside my dining room table with
Yeah.
the blonde hair, the green gown.
She had like, her eyes were like blue-green. Like they were blue-green. Yeah.
She showed up
Feeling it
as soon
right
as you
here.
started talking about her.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it right here.
Yeah, and she was, you know, and since she's here, I would like to thank her because I really do feel she tried to tell me about my brother passing. But at the time, I was so terrified that I didn't know what to do. Like one night, I was having trouble sleeping, you know, because I was a hyperactive kid. Okay, I had, you know, ADHD really bad as a kid. I was very hyperactive. So at night, it was very hard to put me to sleep. I would stay up and just playing around and doing things in my bed. So it was one of those nights, and my parents ended up going to bed. So I knew I had to try to put myself to bed because all the lights were off and it was dark. And my room had paneling. So, you know, paneling is dark, you know, it makes everything even darker. So, and I only had like one window facing an alley. So I didn't have much light in my room. So it got a little dark and I got a little scared. So I remember just laying down and just kind of with the covers like this. And then I heard the door open. So I thought it was my brother because my brother used to sleep in the room across from me. So I pop up and I see my brother sleeping. And I'm like, what the hell? Because the door was cracked, like somebody opened the door. So I was like, okay, so I started to get scared. I laid down and I closed my eyes. And then I opened my eyes and Jessica's right at the foot of my bed, like full apparition. And she's staring at me. And I remember, and it looked like she was crying. And I was so freaking terrified, guys. I didn't know what to do. I was like, you know, I'm a little kid. I was like 4 or 5 years old. I was like, you know, I put the covers over me. I'm shaking. I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. And I'm trying to scream. Nothing's coming out, right? So I built the courage to finally take the covers off. By then, she's on the other side of the room in the doorway of my brother's room, right? So see, there he goes again.
Why he's coughing. And
yeah,
Chaz, as you're going through and you're telling the story, when you said she started crying, all of a sudden water came out of my eyes. And that's how it is with me when people start to explain their experience. I start to physically feel and go through it with them. It's pretty crazy.
Okay.
So, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
That's the empath.
I'm sorry. I'm affecting y'all.
No, it's okay. It's okay. That's why I'm all like, geez.
I guess she's coming in today, and that's nice to know because I think I did want her to know that. So she was at the foot of my brother's bed room, the entrance of her room, of his room, and I saw her just looking at him, and she stood there for a minute. And I'm like, what is she doing? Like, why does she keep staring at him? And then she looked back at me. And then she disappeared. right? And then it was interesting, guys, because I didn't see her for a while. Usually I would see her like almost every day. But after that instance, I didn't see her for a while. And like 2 weeks after that experience, my brother passed away. So I know now that she was trying to tell me or warn me or yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because my old neighbor, a neighbor of mine, she passed away about 3 years ago, and she came to me in my dreams. You know, I was sleeping and she came into my dream, and I was like back in Brooklyn in my old building, and I said, "Aren't you dead?" I told her. I'm like, "What are you doing here? Aren't you dead already?" She was like, "Yeah, I'm just visiting. And also because I'm coming to get my son soon." So I found that kind of strange that she would say that to me, because he was healthy, right?
Mm.
So I called my mom and I tell my mom, "Hey, look, I had a dream with so-and-so, and she told me that she's gonna get him soon." And she says to me, "Oh, yeah, okay, whatever, witch, brujita, okay, brujita." So I'm like, all right, whatever. Well, she calls me about a month later and she tells me, "Oh, by the way, so-and-so passed away." I said, "Didn't I tell you that she said she was gonna come and get him? I told you." So sometimes spirits of loved ones or friends or whatever you can think of, they do appear. They come and they give us warnings, and they give us insight of what's to come. And we brush it off as a bad dream. We brush it off as a, misunderstanding, or maybe because we missed them, type of thing.
Mhm.
But in reality, many times it's just a warning or a futuristic episode that they're showing us, or it could be anything that is important to us.
Yeah. Or to
And so,
prepare you, like to prepare
Yeah.
you for it.
right. So, with Lisa, you're an empath, and empaths have high receptors to the way people feel.
Everything. I'm telling you,
can't turn it off.
EMF, mold, any little thing is amiss in my environment, I'm burping like a sailor. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
yeah.
I have to and it's a process of trial and error to try and figure out what's wrong, whether it's metaphysical, whether it's something wrong with the physical environment or that kind of thing, or if somebody around me is sick. It could be like a million things, and it's just such a pain in the butt sometimes.
Yeah.
But I would like to throw this out there. For one of the episodes, I would like to go through what we went through at your house, your last one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
I
do
have an idea about why.
Damn it, you should know my partner's pulling in the middle of this shit. Hold on, I gotta mute.
It has to do with the flower bed, Brenda.
Sorry, guys. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
At the old house, or where you at now?
At the old house.
Yeah.
Flower bed.
That's why
Yeah.
you kept on going back to the flower bed, and you wanted flowers there. There's a reason.
Mm.
I think he was there.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh.
We got to get into that in detail one episode for sure, because that was an
insane.
ordeal, right? That was like a whole month.
That was like a poltergeist or something. Like I had to get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason why I kept saying the flower bed and going to the flower bed, something there.
That's why everything I've done, I did everything in my power to clear the whole property, and no matter what I did, nothing worked.
But that makes sense. When spirits are at unrest, when there's something that needs to be shined on, they will continue manifesting. They will continue harassing, because it's harassing. They will do whatever they can to show, or for it to be known what happened. Remember, I told you he passed away.
Yeah.
And it was violent.
Mm-hmm.
It was a violent passing. And
yeah. And then my neighbor started talking about danger, being in danger, like things going wrong in the property, not going wrong, but just like the behaviors on the property.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
then there was the suicide.
But yeah, that's what I was about to say. The funny thing is whatever is going on in the well, there was a well behind that garage that really amplified everything to where it was just like a complete basket case.
Mhm.
Well, like
Yeah.
I told you, that property there holds years and years of nonstop violence. That property has negative energy that surrounds it for like centuries, I would say.
Yeah, it's like that's what I was getting too. Like, it's like a residual energy.
Right.
It's been there for the longest time. And then people who are not
Gravitated.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. People that are not self-aware are just being,
It's
falling
like they're
victim.
sucked into.
Yeah, they're like falling victim to the energy because they don't know it. They don't know. They're oblivious.
And then the thing is that negative stuff continues to happen. So while there's still negative energies that are dancing, it's just building more like a volcano. So eventually it's going to erupt. When? Oh, when?
We don't know.
It's going to erupt sometime. So it makes no sense to have that property continue in the living aspects. That property needs to be just completely shut down, closed off. And I would say there's no cleaning for that, to be honest with you. There's no cleaning.
So in other
what
words,
was funny,
yeah, we just went on pure Ghostbuster mode, like all of us.
Yeah,
like, I remember you reached out.
I thought that was going to be another episode. I meant for that to be another episode.
Yeah, but we just sort of got into it. Yeah, we'll get more into details, guys, because we touched on so many things today.
It was nuts. It was insane.
But basically, that in a nutshell, it's like we just went into pure Ghostbuster mode with that. Lisa, you were dealing with some poltergeist activity at your new place, and you sought us out for advice, and we just picked up a bunch of stuff.
I didn't even bring my furniture with me. Everything that I had, nope.
I don't blame you. But yeah, that's a whole other episode because I also went through something very similar with my last apartment in New York. So there goes the old familiar there. His mama. And who was parking in the back, John? That was Houston?
Oh, Dallas, that's the
Dallas?
loudmouth of the house.
This is my Curtis Lowe.
But that's another thing. Don't know. Animals are very intuitive. So having a pet is very good to keep in the house because they have a sense higher than us. They can literally see the dead. They can literally smell it, sense it, look at it. I mean, they're very, very high psychic creatures.
Yeah.
He used to protect my altar. Do you guys remember that? When my altar was up at the house?
He would lay on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say, now that you're saying that, Brenda, I would say that that's my advice for those starting out on this path, to definitely look into what animal
prepare dinner
totem, like what animal spirit or what animal totem you're drawn to, because not everybody has pets. You know what I mean? Some people don't have pets, but they connect with an animal spirit, and that animal and spirit is your protector. So I would say that for people starting out, that might be something to definitely connect to. Definitely look, because like in shamanism, like in Native Americans, when they have their vision quest, they look to their animal totem in that process. So definitely looking into that through altered state of consciousness, meditation, connecting with your animal spirit, I would say, is a very important part of this process for sure. Like, I would say the earliest animal, guys, I know this sounds silly, but the earliest animal was actually what they consider a spirit animal, which was the unicorn. I was so fixated with unicorns as a little girl. I used to have posters and figures, and yeah, that was always my thing.
Well, they're very mystical and majestic, and you can't find a unicorn these days, right? You could never find one. And it makes you think, why would anyone say that they've seen such a mystical creature?
Mhm.
There's never been any evidence. There's never been any physical evidence of a unicorn, but we have depictions of them.
Yeah.
So something out there was at one point on this planet roaming around with a horn on its head, looking very majestic.
Yeah.
Same fairies and dwarfs and trolls and all that stuff. But you know what?
Well,
Leitner.
I'll tell you
Maybe use
what I
Odin
got.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what I got. When we move into this shift, when we start shifting into this energy, there's going to be many, many people that will start dying off, as well as animals. And when these animals and people start dying off, there'll be a new shift of a new species that moves in. And they'll be equivalent to that unicorn and a newer high energy of people as well. So there'll be it's like a different multitude of energy that's going to be shifting forward into this new region of what we consider life today. So like the mammoth back in the day, it might
I was
have
just
died
thinking
off,
that. That's so
but they're
weird. In
moving.
my head, I
They
saw
will
the
be
woolly
coming
mammoth.
back.
I
They're
literally
coming
saw the
back.
woolly mammoth, the saber-toothed tiger, all of those ancient creatures died off in order for new, or what is it, evolved versions to develop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What I can definitely tell you is that with this year's cataclysmic events, and they're mostly land events, a lot of earthquakes, a lot of flooding, tsunamis that are going to be happening, new species, and you're right, John, new species are going to evolve. You're absolutely right.
There's something going on with cattle too.
Yeah, we're going to see fish being able to literally walk on land. Because
there has been all these deep sea creatures that are coming to the surface now.
Yeah.
Well,
like washing
Hello.
ashore. Have you seen that article?
Yeah.
What's the fish that has like the little lantern in the front, like it's a deep sea fish?
Yes, I've seen those.
You know which one I'm talking about, right? Those are literally thousands and thousands of feet deep in the water. And there's been a few, I think it was either New Zealand or in Australia that have been washing ashore.
Well, it's because the land mass is changing. So all these underwater earthquakes are causing the animals to come up.
Makes a lot of sense.
When I told you that there's going to be a lot of volcanic eruptions in the sea and that new lands will be rising, that's what's going on. There's a lot.
It's going to push the water.
Yes.
And that's going to cause flooding.
Right.
I see.
And there has been that exact activity for some reason, what's been very active this year, and I would say for the past 2 years, has been like the Polynesian islands, like the South Pacific area, New Zealand, Australia. That part of the world has been very active, and it's making me almost want to look into what plates are specifically there, what faults, because it's been a lot of activity there going into the Indian Ocean, and like I said, into the Asian islands. There was even some activity in Japan recently. So most of the Pacific has been very active.
There's going to be more landmass breakage around there. It's going to tear up. So there's going to be a chain of more islands type of thing.
That makes sense, because there's a lot of volcanoes there, a lot of like activity going on. And
I'm also seeing civil unrest for some reason. There's going to be like civil unrest. It's going to be like a government overthrow type of thing.
Well, yeah, because
they're not prepared for this kind of thing. So, people are going to look to, their governments to fix everything, and they're not going to be able to. So they're going to, they're going to have to take over. They're going to have to.
Yeah.
They're not going to have a choice.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing.
And people
That's exactly,
retribalizing.
yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No,
Mhm.
you're exactly right about that, Lisa, because it's going to happen so suddenly that they're, right away, of course, going to go to the higher ups, to the government officials.
There's a book out called Retribalize Now, written by Edward Thorson. And it talks about everything that you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
But it's more of like the how-to.
Yeah. And it's funny because John, you talked about that a couple of years ago. Remember, we had a deep discussion that we recorded one time, and we talked about this, about kind of starting.
That's 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, we talked about
right before
this.
COVID hit. That's literally, guys, literally like a week before COVID hit. I was at your house, John, and we were talking about starting to grow your own crops, because that's what you said, right? We need to start growing our own crops. We need to start collecting food and water and all this stuff. I remember you talking about that. And
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
I have a bottle of drops that you can use to preserve water. You can preserve tap water, just a couple of drops in a gallon of tap water, and it's preserved for quite some time. I don't remember exactly how long, but yeah, I've been looking into all this stuff too. So
yeah,
especially after what I went through in Texas with the deep freeze. So that was a real eye opener for me.
And I don't know. The weather's been so crazy, like a lot of crops have gotten damaged as a result.
Yeah.
One of you is gonna wind up going to the beach and finding an onyx on the beach.
I live 10 minutes from the beach.
Yeah, I feel that it's gonna be you, Lisa. You're gonna find the waves push in, they're gonna come in, and you're gonna see the right right
shining
there
in the sun, right there. Yeah.
I had no idea you was
yeah. The sand is all in my car to show for it.
That's so cool. I would love to live by the beach. Oh my gosh.
It's awesome.
I'm not too far away from the one I like to go to. So that's where I go and do my cleansings.
Not 10 minutes, 10 miles, I think, but 20 minutes. Yeah, it's close. Something like that.
Yeah. Nonetheless, way closer to me. Like me and John are like a couple of hours away from the beach.
Yeah.
You got
so.
But we're all in the South now, right? We're all, in the Southeast, which is interesting. We're all like in the same.
I'm only a 5 hour
traveling distance.
I'm like a 5 hour drive from you guys, and then I think I'm like maybe 2-3 hour drive from you. So
yeah.
Just about. Just about.
Cool.
So yeah.
So I wanted to bring something to your attention, guys, that I literally just realized right before we started. Today is 444.
Oh wow.
Today is 4422.
No kidding.
Awesome.
Nice.
So to me, it was not by accident that we started this episode today. Like to me, that's
so it's just like shifted.
Yeah, it's literally like divine intervention. Like that we started on a grid today, like 444.
Yeah. It was meant to.
Yep.
Literally was meant.
Yeah.
I'm completely sick as a dog, and I was like, no, we're doing this. We're doing this today.
Yeah. I was like, are you sure? Because if you're not up for it, you're like, no, this is going down. We're doing this. Because we had some technical issues, we tried like maybe twice before, and there was just issues.
You had a dinosaur. You live with the dinosaur. That's the problem.
Listen, well, I'm on my computer right now. I'm on my desktop, and my desktop is up to date. So that's not the case. My phone, on the other hand, does need an upgrade. I'm working on it, like work in progress. But for the most part, now we got this up and running finally, and I'm really happy. Because I do feel like this is, we have a lot to cover and a lot to
Offer.
you know, and to share. And yeah, so yeah, this was great. So now everybody can see, guys, like for everybody that's watching, this is literally how it is with us. Like we'll just start going in, and as you can see, we're a mixed bag. Okay, we're a mixed bag of intuition here, of different modes, you know, like Lisa's, you know, the empath. I mean, we're all, you know, I'm empath as well. So I think that's something also, I feel that is why we are so connected when we talk and when we share, the fact that we're all empaths as well.
Well,
And
me coughing, when you start speaking about some people, that tells itself right there.
oh yeah,
That's
we
just
don't
that.
even have to go with that. Like
Right.
my face, like I said, John, when you were talking earlier, my whole body just got hot, like my face especially. So yeah,
And
that
run
goes
the
without
turn on
saying.
AC.
Right. I
It
have
was
to
on
do that
70. I was
too.
like,
So yeah,
John,
the
you're starting to make-
empath is strong here.
you're definitely starting to make me cough, John.
Yeah, Brenda started coughing too.
The more channeling I do for others, the more I cough, and it's like that's like I've learned that is
It's
my
Lisa's
confirmation that they're there. So like when she spoke about her grandmother, she will come through and then the cough comes. Or if you talk about the girl, the cough comes. So it's like confirmation, they're here and I need to validate it. So every time that I start coughing, just like yesterday, green eyes. Remember, you know green eyes, right?
Mhm.
Green eyes. Kevin's green eyes.
Mhm.
She was sitting at the table yesterday and we were at the dining room and she was speaking about something and I was trying to explain to her, I would not consider myself so much a psychic. I would consider myself more of a soul reader. There's a difference because I look at it more like I am reading your soul. A psychic reads your past, present, and future. So I tell you what needs to be fixed, right? So as soon as I said that, this old blonde lady comes standing right beside of her, and all of a sudden I start like having these horrible gags. And I never told her that's like my confirmation of these, like something coming through. And I start coughing and hacking, and Kevin runs out of the room giggling. And that girl just looked at me like I was about to die in the middle of the kitchen floor. And I'm like, hold on, give me a minute. Let me get my shit together. Hold on. Let me get my shit together.
Yeah.
So I told her, I said, I'm not dialed in. So I'll have to do a reading elsewhere. But the thing is, there's an old lady with blonde hair that's standing beside your shoulder. And I don't know who it is, but she's dialed to you. She's your buddy.
That must have freaked her out. Usually when we say stuff like that, they're not prepared. They're like, what? You know?
Yeah. When you're saying things and they're like, how the hell did this person, what? Who told you?
Mm-hmm.
No, this is set up. This can't be real. And you know, it feels good though. It feels good because you know you're actually onto something that is right, you know?
Yeah.
And as intimidating as scary as it seems for them, they know that what we're saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
And the validation comes in when they're like, well, yeah, that did happen, or well, I was thinking about that, and it feels good. It feels good. It feels good to be validated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and it's funny because even now I get like surprised when they confirm. Like I still like, okay, so yeah, all right. So what I got was what I got then. They're like, yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, that still happens to me on occasion. So there goes the coffee. We're just having a coffee party here. This is a coughing party. Now next is gonna, oh boy, Lisa's like, I ain't trying to cough. I got my crystals. I am
I'm actually, let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm doing a hand mudra in the rune os. And
Okay.
os is the tiebreaker. It breaks the connection of what's making you cough. So that's when you see me put my hand mudra up and I'm focusing on you. I'm trying to help you.
Block it.
Yeah.
Ah.
That's really cool. And it worked too, because Brenda's not coughing anymore.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
os.
Is that it right there?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the rune. It's backwards because I think it's a mirror image, but yeah. So you make
Huh.
that hand mudra and sorry. I think my battery's about to die, so I gotta go soon.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's it. That's os. And my friend Revna makes these cards of the Armin runes, and you can get them on Etsy. Her page is the Norse Pagan on
Oh, I
Etsy.
love
and
it.
she's
Yeah.
a fantastic artist.
I would
So-
love to get that deck. Looks so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is so lit. I love it.
All right, guys. So I think we're gonna wrap up for today. We went a little over than expected, but you know, this was a good way for everyone that's watching to get acquainted with us and what we do and how we connect. So I think they got a good idea of how we
Feel.
roll.
Yeah, exactly. We just went live.
I
We
think
went in.
they got a good amount of info and a good vibe overall. Oh my gosh, I'm about to cough. Here we go. Oh boy. Okay. Here I go. Okay. I knew it was gonna be like a domino effect. I was like, okay, John, Brenda, me, or Lisa. Lisa's like, okay, she's black. She's like, I'm gonna cut that off. Okay, I'm good now. So
You're welcome.
thank you, my dear. So with that being said, guys, that concludes today's episode. Thank you everyone for watching. We will be doing these weekly. And again, if you have any questions for us, just drop us an email. Our email will be down below in the information section. And also, if you want to contact us individually, our information will be down there as well. And we will be doing lives, but if you would like to see our lives, they will be in our group. So you will have to join our Facebook group in order to see our lives. And during the lives, we will be doing Q&A, we will be doing readings and some good extra stuff too. So yeah, definitely join the group. The group link is down below as well. So until next time, guys. Peace.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.